The storm had no mercy. Snow fell from the dark sky like endless white knives cutting into the frozen land. The wind screamed across the open plains, strong enough to knock a man off his feet. No normal creature could survive long in this cold. Even machines struggled here. Yet one human walked alone through the storm. His name was Ethan Cross. Ethan pulled his coat tighter around his body and leaned forward, fighting the wind step by step. His boots sank deep into the snow with every move. His breath came out in short white clouds, freezing in the air before fading away. This planet was not Earth. It was Cryos 9, a remote ice world at the edge of known space. Most space charts marked it as dead. No cities, no trade routes, no reason to be here. But Ethan had come anyway. His ship had crash-landed 2 days ago after a sudden energy storm tore through the sky. The communication system was dead. The engines were frozen solid. Rescue might come, but not soon. Until then, survival was his only goal. Ethan checked the small scanner on his wrist. The screen flickered weakly. Temperature, -70 degrees. Life signs, none detected. He sighed. Of course, he muttered. He was about to turn back toward his ship when something strange caught his eye. A shape. Not a rock, not ice. Something darker, half buried in the snow. Ethan stopped. The storm howled louder, as if warning him to keep moving. Every instinct said, "Do not stop." On Cryos 9, stopping meant death. But Ethan had learned long ago to trust his eyes. He walked closer. Then he froze. 2 figures lay ahead of him. They were not human. They were slender, taller than humans, with pale blue skin that almost blended with the snow. Their long silver hair was frozen stiff, spread across the ice like broken glass. Thin, crystalline patterns glowed faintly beneath their skin, pulsing weakly like dying stars. Alien, female, and barely alive. Ethan's heart slammed in his chest. Holy hell! He dropped to his knees beside them, ignoring the cold biting through his gloves. His scanner beeped again, this time in panic. Life signs detected, critical condition. 2 of them. Sisters, he could tell somehow. Their faces were different, but their features carried the same shape, the same delicate structure. One was holding the other close, her arm wrapped around her sister's body, even as the cold slowly killed them both. They had tried to protect each other until the very end. Ethan swallowed hard. He had seen many things in space: war, death, broken worlds. But this hit differently. "They're going to die," he whispered. He looked around. No shelters, no caves, no help. His ship was nearly 2 kilometers away. Too far, too cold, too late. The logical choice was clear. If he stayed, they would all die together. Humans were known across the galaxy for many things: adaptability, stubbornness, violence when pushed, but also something else, something most alien races never understood. Ethan took off his thermal cloak. It was the last one he had. He wrapped it around both sisters, covering their fragile bodies as best as he could. Then he activated the emergency heat core in his chest harness. It was designed to keep one human alive in extreme cold, not 3 bodies. The warning lights flashed red. Core overload risk. Ethan ignored it. "Stay with me," he said softly, though he knew they could not hear him. The taller sister's eyes fluttered open. They were not blue. They were silver, filled with fear and confusion. She tried to speak, but only a weak sound escaped her frozen lips. Her gaze locked on Ethan's face. A human. Her people had stories about humans. Dangerous, unpredictable, warm-blooded monsters who burned worlds and broke empires. She tried to pull away.
Ethan gently held her shoulder. "It's okay," he said slowly, clearly, hoping tone mattered more than words. The sister's eyes widened. She had not expected that. Her strength faded, and her eyes closed again. Ethan lifted both sisters carefully, one in each arm. They were lighter than they looked. Too light. "Damn it," he muttered, starting toward the ship. Every step was agony. The wind pushed harder, as if the planet itself was angry. Snow blinded his vision, his legs burned, his chest core screamed warnings in his ears. Halfway there, Ethan stumbled. He fell to one knee. The sister slipped slightly in his arms. For one terrible second, he considered letting go. Just 1 second. Then he growled and stood back up. "Humans don't quit," he said through clenched teeth. The ship finally appeared through the snow like a dark shadow. Ethan nearly cried when he reached the ramp. He slammed the emergency seal button, and the hatch closed behind him. Silence. Warmth. Ethan collapsed to the floor. The sisters lay beside him, still unmoving. He crawled toward the medical unit and dragged them inside. The scanner lights lit up the room with soft blue glow. The system beeped again. Species, unknown. Condition, extreme hypothermia. Recommendation, immediate warming and energy infusion. Ethan followed the instructions as fast as he could. He connected heat lines, power feeds, anything that might help. He had no idea if human medical systems would even work on alien biology. Minutes passed. Then one of the sisters gasped. She sat up suddenly, eyes wide, breath shaking. She looked at Ethan and screamed. Ethan stepped back slowly, raising his hands. "Easy," he said. "You're safe." The second sister woke moments later, her silver eyes sharp and alert. She pulled her sister close, placing herself between Ethan and her. They stared at him with fear and something else. Confusion. He was not attacking. He was not demanding anything. He was just standing there, exhausted, half frozen, and worried. The taller sister spoke first. Her voice was weak but clear. "Why did you save us?" Ethan blinked. He had no good answer. "Because you were freezing," he said simply. The sisters exchanged a look. Among their people, kindness was never free. Everything had a price. Everything. The shorter sister studied him closely. She noticed the frost burns on his hands, the damage to his suit, the warning lights still blinking on his chest core. He risked his life. For them. A human. Something deep inside her shifted. Outside the ship, the storm continued to rage. Inside, 3 lives sat on the edge of something far bigger than survival, and far more dangerous than the cold. Because somewhere in the galaxy, saving 2 alien sisters would change everything, and none of them knew it yet. The ship was quiet, but the storm outside never stopped. Wind slammed against the metal hull again and again like an angry beast trying to break in. Inside the small ship, soft lights glowed above the medical bay. Warm air slowly replaced the deadly cold. Ethan sat on the floor near the wall, his back against cold metal. His hands shook slightly, not from fear, but from exhaustion. The emergency heat core on his chest harness finally powered down, leaving behind a dull ache in his bones. Across from him, the 2 alien sisters watched in silence. They did not speak to each other. They did not look away from him. Their eyes followed every small movement he made. Ethan noticed and slowly raised his hands again, palms open. "I'm not a threat," he said calmly. The sisters did not understand every word, but they understood tone, and tone mattered. The taller sister relaxed just a little. Her shoulders dropped. The tension in her long fingers eased, though she still stood between Ethan and her sister. She spoke again, carefully. "My name is Alira." Her voice was soft, musical, but tired. Ethan nodded. Ethan. Ethan Cross. The shorter sister hesitated, then spoke quietly. I am Naira. Ethan gave a small smile. Nice to meet you, both of you. The word nice confused them. Nothing about their situation was nice. They were far from home, their bodies were weak, and they were alone on a dead ice world with a human. Among their people, humans were legends, not good ones. Alira studied him closely. His face was pale from frost and fatigue. Small cracks of frostbite marked his hands and jaw. His eyes were tired, but gentle. He looked ordinary, not like the monsters from the stories. You could have left us, Alira said. Why did you not? Ethan shrugged slightly.
The alarms did not stop. Red light filled the ship, flashing again and again like a warning heartbeat. Outside, the storm still screamed, but now it was no longer the most dangerous thing on Cryos 9. Ships hovered above the ice. Not human ships. They were sharp and dark, shaped like blades cutting through the sky. Blue lights burned along their hulls. They moved with slow confidence, like predators that knew their prey had nowhere to run. Ethan stared at the scanner. 3 ships. Well, he muttered, that's just unfair. Naira's hand tightened around his arm. Her skin felt warm again, but her fingers trembled. They are Varkesh hunters. They tracked Lunari across systems. They do not stop. Alira stepped closer, her face calm, but her eyes full of worry. If they see a human helping us, they will kill you without hesitation. Ethan looked at both of them. Then he laughed softly. That makes it simple, he said. We don't let them see me fail. They stared at him. He was joking, but he was also serious. Ethan moved quickly, switching off interior lights and rerouting power. The ship hummed under his hands, old, damaged, but still alive. The ship can't outrun them, he said, so we hide. Naira shook her head. They can see through the storms, through ice, through fear. Ethan paused. Fear is not a problem, he said. He opened a compartment under the floor and pulled out a long black case. When he opened it, metal caught the light. Weapons. Not military grade. Salvaged. Modified. Human-made. Alira's eyes widened slightly. You are not a soldier, she said. No, Ethan agreed, but I learned a few things. Outside, one of the ships descended lower. The ice beneath it cracked from heat and pressure. A deep voice echoed through external speakers, translated by the ship's systems. Lunari life forms detected. Surrender, and you will be spared unnecessary pain. Naira flinched. Alira's jaw tightened. Ethan shut the channel off. Yeah, not happening, he said. He turned to the sisters. I need you both to trust me, he said. Can you do that? Naira hesitated. Then she nodded. Alira followed a moment later. Yes, she said quietly. We trust you. The word trust meant everything to her people. Ethan felt its weight. The hunters landed. Heavy boots crushed the snow as armored figures stepped out onto the ice. Their armor was dark and thick, built for cold and combat. Weapons glowed faintly with stored energy. 5 of them. Then 6. Ethan watched through a cracked camera feed. Too many, he whispered. Naira stood beside him. Her hands glowed faintly now, soft silver light spreading across her fingers. You can do this, she said. He glanced at her. You sound very sure. She met his eyes. Because you did not run. That mattered. Alira closed her eyes, focusing. The glowing patterns under her skin brightened, reacting to danger. Lunari abilities were not weapons. They were bonds. The lead hunter raised his weapon and fired at the ship's hull. The blast shook everything. "Last warning," the voice said. "Come out." Ethan took a deep breath. "Stay here," he told the sisters. "No," Naira said quickly. "I can't protect you if we are already part of this, because of you." That stopped him. Ethan nodded once. "All right, stay close." He opened the rear hatch just enough and stepped out into the storm. The cold hit him like a wall. The hunters turned instantly, weapons locking onto him. A human. Alone. They paused. The lead hunter laughed. "A single human stands between us and our prize?" Ethan raised his hand slightly, not in surrender, but calm. "You're on private salvage. Turn around." The hunters laughed again. "Humans are bold and foolish." He raised his weapon. Ethan moved. He rolled to the side as the blast tore into the ice where he stood. Snow exploded into the air. Ethan fired back, using short, controlled bursts. His weapon hit armored joints, not plates. One hunter fell. Then another. The rest spread out, moving fast. Ethan's heart pounded. His breath burned. He ducked behind a ridge, barely avoiding a shot that would have taken his head off. Inside the ship, Naira gasped. Elira closed her eyes and reached out, not with force, but feeling. She felt Ethan's fear and his resolve. She reached for it. Strength flowed through the bond, subtle but real. Ethan felt it. Warmth in his chest. Focus. He stood again, firing with new precision. A hunter charged him, too close. Ethan slammed into him, driving his weapon into a weak point. The hunter collapsed into the snow. Only two left. They fell back, surprised. "A human should not fight like this," one hissed. Ethan smiled grimly. "We adapt." The last hunter fired a heavy blast. Ethan was too slow. The shot hit him square in the chest. He flew backward, crashing into the ice. Naira screamed. Elira ran forward, forgetting the danger. Ethan lay still. For one terrible second, the world froze. Then Ethan coughed. The blast had hit his emergency core. It was cracked, smoking, but still alive. He pushed himself up. The hunters hesitated. Something was wrong. Humans were not supposed to survive that. Ethan staggered forward, eyes burning. "You should have stayed away." The remaining hunters retreated, dragging their wounded. Their ships lifted off, disappearing into the storm. Silence returned. Ethan fell to his knees. Naira reached him first, dropping into the snow beside him. She touched his face, her hands glowing brighter than ever before. Why risk your life?" she whispered. Ethan looked up at her. "Because leaving you would have been worse." Elira stood behind them, her eyes shining. In that moment, something ancient and powerful formed. Not a debt, not obligation, a bond of choice. Naira felt her heart race in a way she had never done before. Elira felt it too. The human, who should have been a stranger, had become something more. Something dangerous. Something precious. Far above Cryos 9, the hunters transmitted a warning. The human is not ordinary. And across the galaxy, forces far greater than hunters began to listen. The storm slowly weakened. Snow still fell, but the wind lost its anger. Cryos 9 seemed to grow quiet, as if the planet itself was watching what had just happened. Ethan lay inside the ship's medical bay. His chest rose and fell slowly. The damaged emergency core had been removed, leaving a deep burn across his chest. The pain was heavy, but he was alive. Naira sat beside him. She had not moved for hours. Her hand rested on his, her silver eyes fixed on his face. Every small breath he took felt like a victory. Aelira stood near the doorway, watching both of them. She understood now. What had begun in the snow was no longer just survival. It was attachment. And attachment was dangerous. Ethan's eyes finally opened. Naira gasped softly. "Ethan?" He blinked, confused. Did we win?" She laughed quietly, relief breaking through fear. "Yes, they ran." "Good," he muttered. "Hate unfinished jobs." Aelira stepped forward. "You nearly died." "Yeah, I do that sometimes." Naira frowned. "You should not joke." "But I'm still here," he replied gently. Her grip tightened on his hand. She did not let go. Far away from Cryos 9, a signal reached the Vaktesh Dominion. The hunters knelt before their commander, their armor scarred, their pride shattered. "A single human stopped you?" the commander growled. "Yes," the hunter replied. "He fought like a unit, and the Lunari bonded with him." That made the commander pause. "Bonded?" he asked slowly. "Yes, deeply." The room went silent. That changed everything. The Lunari were not valuable alone, but Lunari bonded to a human. That was interesting. Inform the council and prepare a fleet. Back on the ship, Ethan struggled to sit up. Aelira helped him.
The light faded. For a brief moment, there was nothing but silence. No alarms, no voices, just darkness. Then the ship shook violently. Ethan slammed back into his chair as emergency systems screamed to life. Sparks flew from the console. The smell of burned metal filled the cockpit. Naira cried out, collapsing to her knees. The glow around her hands vanished instantly. Aelira caught her before she hit the floor. "Naira!" she shouted. Ethan forced himself upright, ignoring the pain ripping through his chest. He turned just in time to see Naira's eyes flutter shut. "She's drained," Aelira said, panic breaking through her calm. "She gave too much." Ethan swore under his breath. The council cruiser loomed outside the window, massive and untouched, its weapons powered down, not because it was finished, but because it didn't need to rush. It believed the fight was over. The council voice returned, colder than before. "Human vessel, your resistance has been noted. Power down immediately." Ethan stared at the screen. Then he did something no one expected. He laughed. Not loud, not crazy, just tired and very human. "You know," he said calmly, "you should have checked where I'm from before you fired." A pause. "What are you implying?" the council officer asked. Ethan tapped a control on the console. A hidden transmitter activated. A signal shot out into deep space. Human frequency, military priority, emergency classification. Aelira felt it instantly. The bond reacted. "What did you do?" she asked quietly. Ethan looked at her, eyes steady. "I called home." Far across the stars, the signal reached Earth. It bypassed civilian channels, skipped trade routes, ignored diplomatic filters. It went straight to Human Defense Command. An officer stared at the screen. "Sir," she said slowly, "we've received a priority signal from a civilian-class explorer." Her commander frowned. "Location? Cryos-9 region." "That sector is council-controlled." "Yes, sir." The commander leaned forward. "Message content?" She swallowed. "Request for aid. Reason given. Human life threatened by Galactic Council action." The room went silent. Then the commander stood. "Wake the fleet." Back in space, the council cruiser moved closer. "You have committed multiple violations."
the voice said. "Your species will answer for this." Ethan leaned forward, pain written across his face, but his voice was firm. "Funny thing about humans," he said, "we always answer." Illyra looked at him, something deep and fierce burning in her eyes. "You are calling war," she said softly. Ethan shook his head. "No," he replied, "they did." Naira stirred weakly, her eyes opening just enough to see Ethan. "You stayed," she whispered. He smiled gently. "Always." Her fingers curled weakly around his sleeve. That simple touch sent a rush through him, warmth, resolution, purpose. The bond strengthened. Not just Lunari to human, human to Lunari. Chosen. The Council cruiser fired again, this time not a warning. The blast tore through the ship's side. Metal screamed. Systems failed. Atmosphere vented. Ethan was thrown hard against the wall. Illyra screamed his name. For one terrifying second, it looked like it was over. Then space itself seemed to change. The stars shifted. Light bent. The Council sensors went wild. "What is that?" an officer shouted. Dozens of signals appeared on their screens. Hundreds, then thousands. Human ships. They did not arrive slowly. They jumped in like thunder. Heavy cruisers, carriers, defense platforms, old designs, new weapons, all flying the same simple mark: Earth Defense Fleet. The Council commander stared in disbelief. "That's impossible." A human voice cut through every channel at once, clear, calm, unmistakably angry. "This is Admiral Reyes of the United Human Fleet." A pause. "You fired on a human civilian vessel." Another pause. "Explain yourselves." The Council cruiser froze. They had faced empires. They had judged worlds. But humans? Humans were different. "Admiral," the Council officer replied carefully, "that vessel harbors Lunari fugitives." "That vessel," Reyes interrupted, "harbors a human under our protection." Silence. "And here's how this works. You stand down, you back away, and you leave them alone." The Council hesitated, then made a mistake. "We do not answer to humans," the commander said. Reyes sighed. "That's unfortunate." She gave a single command: "Disable." Human ships moved, not one, not two, all of them, precision fire, no chaos, no rage, just perfect coordination. Council shields collapsed in seconds, weapons went dark, engines shut down. The massive cruiser drifted helplessly in space. Ethan watched through the cracked viewport, stunned. Illyra stared in awe. Naira smiled weakly. "Humans," she whispered, "are terrifying." Ethan laughed softly. "Yeah, we get that a lot." A human shuttle docked with Ethan's ship minutes later. Medical teams rushed in. Weapons teams followed, but lowered their arms when they saw Illyra and Naira. No fear, no hostility, just curiosity. An officer approached Ethan. "Mr. Cross," she said, "you caused a bit of a situation." He winced as they lifted him onto a stretcher. "Sorry?" She smiled faintly. "Don't be." She glanced at the sisters. "Are these the ones you called about?" Ethan said firmly, "Yes, they stay with me." The officer studied him for a moment, then nodded. "I'll inform command." Illyra felt something break inside her. Relief, safety, and something more dangerous, hope. Naira leaned closer to Ethan as they moved him. "You did not abandon us," she said softly. "Not my style," he replied. Her silver eyes shone. Illyra spoke quietly, voice steady but emotional. "In our culture, bonding is permanent." Ethan looked at her. "And we have bonded to you," she continued, Both of us. The words hung in the air, clear, unavoidable. Human soldiers nearby pretended not to listen. Ethan felt his heart race. He swallowed. Then I guess I'll have to live up to that. Naira smiled. A real smile. Far away, the council emergency session began. Humanity was no longer a rumor, no longer a background species. They were a line, and the galaxy had crossed it. The final transmission from Admiral Reyes echoed across council space. Humans protect their own, and those they choose. Ethan lay in a clean medical bay on aboard a human cruiser. Illyra and Naira sat beside him, not as prisoners, not as refugees, but as chosen companions. Outside the window, human ships filled the stars. For the first time in their lives, the sisters felt truly safe. And for the first time in his, Ethan realized something important. Saving them in the snow had changed the galaxy.